the biggest jump I tell people if they want to get into specialty coffee is to just buy a grinder. Get a grinder and a scale. Just those two things will like bump you way up. Hey everyone, and welcome to Fable's Coffee Talks podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alain.
And I'm Andy.
And today we're gonna dive a little bit more into the local coffee scene here in Orlando and a little bit about coffee cupping, which is kind of the wine tasting, if you will, of the coffee world.
Yep. A lot of slurping and, and noises. And
yes, slurping is a big factor in tasting
coffee's
coffee.
all over the place. Yeah.
But
well, my first time today, it was a very interesting experience on that setting.
We visited Leatherback's roasting over in Longwood.
Mm-hmm.
For a cupping event that they had with Cupa Roasting, that's Landon's business. Yep. It was a pretty great turnout for a spot at their warehouse where they do all their roasting.
Yeah, it was great. It was like, let's say our 35, 40 people, if you count everything. And then, we had that experience of trying, over 20 type of coffees in
I think it was exactly
morning.
21 different kinds of coffee, which I've cupped before for the roasting side, but I've never cupped 21 different coffees all at once.
But yeah, the experience was great. I like that. And, trying every different aspect of a coffee and all the aromas and things like that. It does make a difference. It was interesting, very interesting.
For anyone that says that all coffee tastes the same, just go to a local cupping and you'll very quickly find out that there is a lot of variety to coffee.
Yeah. I don't know how true it is, but roasters do that every month or so to, as like to make sure that the production process is meeting the requirements. I don't know how true is that.
For the quality control.
Yeah, the quality control, how often that is. But I would advise a person to go into their local area and find one. Yeah. They're probably having a cupping, every so often.
Definitely. And then it definitely seems, at least in the Orlando area, there's been a, large community effort to just get out there and do more cuppings together. I know Lineage has them pretty frequently, and then Orlando Coffee Culture, that account is trying to do more and more of them.
Yeah. I have no idea there's that many roasters actually in Orlando.
There are a lot of roasters in Orlando. Well, I don't know relatively, because I've only gotten into coffee this deeply in Orlando, but man, there really are a lot.
There are quite a lot, yeah. And then I never realized that was just that many people, roasting and selling coffee and living out of this craft, I had the idea of, a lot as a hobby, like having a smaller machine like you do and do it home and maybe selling for friends, but no, those guys are legit. That's their
dedicated warehouse, dedicated machine.
Yeah,
do a whole build out for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was very fun and interesting to see all these people.
See that side of it.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really like what Leatherback roasting was doing there.
Yeah.
Their setup looks great. I think one thing I liked about their kind of style is that they do both have an approachable coffee, with their holiday blend, and they have some of your classic Colombian, but they also have more of the specialty grade stuff like that Yirgacheffe, the Ethiopian Yirgacheffe that was all fruit. That is definitely a specialty coffee classic.
And that's one thing about the cupping, you're gonna find what kind of coffee you like.
Yeah.
Right away from those 20s, I could pick okay, I could drink, a lot of cups of this. This one, it's not for me. So that's one thing I like too. You were able to separate what you're going to be looking for. And it's hard when you buy online, right? All you read, it's whatever
the flavor notes,
the description and the flavor notes that the person that might be better or worse than you, who knows in knowing coffee, put it there.
It's so subjective anyways, right?
So, and that's the thing, you don't know. At the cupping, I like that. You have the chances to try the coffee before you're purchasing.
Yeah.
And you find what is your lane on the coffee side of the word per se, right? Finding what you like to drink. So that was very, very interesting.
I thought it was cool too that they not only, Leatherback had their coffee, their Cupa Roasting had their coffee, and then they had one or two from other roasters around the area, but they also threw in, there was a...
No, they let people bring the coffee they want to try, and share it among other people. That was interesting. Maybe 6 or 7 of the coffees there was not from roasters, just... Hey, I like this coffee from whatever they came.
There was a Whole Foods coffee there, which I found really interesting. It was oh, okay. And it was the one...
that everybody could
Well, it
see
was the one darkly roasted.
Yeah.
I think when we were in line, so there was to paint a picture where it was around a table, right? One of those like metal work tables, and they had all the cups around the edge of the table.
Yeah.
And then you would go through one by one, sampling each one.
Yeah.
And it was the dark one was near the end, kind of. And I remember trying and I made a face at you, and you're like, "What's?"
Yeah, you could see that because a lot of the coffees today was a lot of fruity, a lot of light, medium roast.
Yeah.
When you try that one, you see that okay, this is completely out of this league here. It's a different style of coffee, and then you could like
there's one with something. Well, I think now you kind of get like why specialty grade coffee. Like this was a very specialty grade level tasting and cupping because we had so many light and medium roasted coffee. You probably haven't had that many light roasted coffees overall in your
my life,
right?
No.
Yeah.
Like give me the dark Bustelo and I'm
yeah, exactly. So relative to that, I think this was definitely leaning towards that light end. But having that one dark roast, I think is really good to put
perspective, right?
Yeah, it kind of makes it like how light and like fruity and flavorful some of these are, and then you get that dark roast, like man,
yeah.
And it wasn't a bad dark roast at all, but it was different, right?
No, for sure. And one thing, like I know what I like and I don't like a lot in coffees. Like fruity coffees is not really what I'm looking for when I'm drinking coffee. But there was that one coffee that was just like, this is amazing.
Oh, I think it was it was from Cupa, right? The one.
No, the Cupa was the light roast that I liked. But the fruity one that I liked was the.
Do you remember what number it was?
It was, I think, with people from Michigan. They brought 2 coffees from them. It was a number 20.
Oh, it was a Luminaire, I think was the roasting company.
Yeah, so that coffee was great, and it was a fruity one, and I usually don't like fruity coffee. Yeah, that was one. But then a couple had one that was like just a light roast, really tall,
very drinkable. Yeah,
and that was like okay, that's where I was see me drinking in the middle of the afternoon. You know, my last cup of coffee of the day. Yeah. That's the one to stop. But that was really good too.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we got like a large variety. I also love that they kind of walk through the cupping process. They didn't go into detail like too much about it, and but I'm glad they kind of took the time to explain like, we're blasting this with hot water. We're waiting. You're supposed to wait 4 minutes for it to extract. And then it's very similar kind of to a French press, how you break the extraction. So they do the 3 scoops on the surface, and that causes all the grounds to fall. And then that means all that top water, that top coffee isn't extracting anymore, but it's still extracting a little bit at the bottom, right? But they did the whole breaking of the crust, the whole like double scoop clean.
Oh yeah, for a first timer, that was great. They stopped to tell like, this is how you do. Come here, first smells, then let's try it. If you're very sensitive to caffeine, that's a spit bucket. If you don't, if you want to get. For I think me and you who drinks tons of coffee, I
was talking with Landon after, and I was remarking about I've never had that many coffees back to back, and he told me that one time he tried 66 coffees back to back in a cupping, and I asked him, well, is that when you break out the spittoon? He's like, no, I was wired for the rest of the day. Like you're just taking little spoonfuls, but when you do 2 or 3 spoonfuls over like 20 in this case 66 coffees, that
it gets you there.
It adds up.
Sure. Yeah, but in this case today, it was just okay. I don't think that added up to my regular caffeine intake. But it was a great experience. And more than that, they took the time to explain. They were great. Everybody was so friendly. And we got to meet so many people that we never know. That was like, Landon, that really, these people are not, there was professionals.
There were a few professionals there.
But I'm saying, there was a lot of people that are just really into coffee.
They're just glad to be there.
They're like, hey, I started with my Nespresso, but I wanted to get better to making latte art, and like, and now she's full into the hobby, you know. And there were so many people like that. You could see and talk to people and see they were like, I'm just here because I love coffee. I'm not here because I make money out of coffee. I just love this experience, and that was great to see and talk to all these people. Yeah,
I think one of the roasters from Stemma. Remember, I took you to Stemma.
Yes,
I remember. I think I'm realizing this a little bit after the fact, but I think like one of the roasters from Stemma was also there, which is it's kind of cool to see that like there. I always get the sense there's a bit of like competitiveness with roasters because they always want to, there's a finite number of cafes they can wholesale to.
Yeah.
But they're still showing up to each other's like cupping events, right? Like we go to Lineage roasting, you go to Cupa's roasting, go to Credo's. Like I don't know. I think it's kind of true that we all kind of just love coffee and want to keep having events.
Yeah, it's a great community, man.
Yeah, there's like the business part of it, but really, like, man, we just want to try some good coffees.
And for you that don't know anything about the coffee world, like really compared to wine, right? That's the closest comparison you can be when people go to wine tastings and talk about wine. There's a lot of wineries out there doing their own thing. It's the same with the coffee, and there was the closest I could like see today. Like, okay, we just
I remember Landon was getting into like one of his coffees. It was a couture mixed with something else, and he was going about like the different. I mean, these are literally the varietals. People talk about grape varietals.
Yeah,
like, there's the same deal in coffee where you have different plant species, and they get
somebody called on the cupping because cupping. So correct me if I'm wrong. It's not how you're really gonna drink the coffee normally. It's just for you to get the smells and the taste of the beans. Yes. So the way they prepare the coffee there, and guys, don't think you're gonna be when you're drinking and sipping the coffee. It's not like you'll be actually drinking a cup of coffee. It's different.
It tastes a little bit different.
Yeah. So one of the guys there was just calling like a cherry soup because it's literally
it really is a coffee.
Coffee's the beans, the cherry, right? And just toasted and roasted. And
I mean, have you heard the joke that a vanilla soy latte is technically a 3-bean soup?
I can see that. Yeah, just like
it is bean soup at the end of the day.
So for a first timer like me, you're not gonna be expecting to drink that little spoon of coffee and like, I'm drinking a cup of coffee now. You're gonna be a very watery, more like dispersed. You're just trying to get the senses and the smell of the entire bean. And then from there, buy your little bag of coffee and make a nice cup of that.
I think maybe that is one good distinction as opposed to like a wine tasting, because you don't brew wine, right?
Yeah.
The whole point of a cupping is that you have a very consistent and like foolproof way to brew the coffee. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, because it's different from how you kind of are brewing it at home, and the ratios are kind of designed to be to get like a very specific level of extraction. Mm-hmm. You don't want too much because you don't want having too much extraction. And by extraction, I mean how much of the coffee solubles you get into the water.
Yeah.
If you have too much extraction, you get like an unbalanced coffee. Too little, then it just tastes like water. The ratios they use are designed to get like just the right amount, and usually that's going to be different from what you do at home typically.
Yeah. And that's why they have all the scales, and we can see that the water goes up to here in every single cup, so we know.
Well, no, they measure the water too.
Yeah, so I think because they did it in one cup, because all the cups were the same size.
Oh, and then they just eyeballed
so they saw the level of the water.
Yeah, I saw them measure the first one, and they eyeballed. That makes sense for speed. Yeah,
there was a lot of people, and they needed just so. But again, great event, nice. Not a lot of fluff. There was not a lot of like sit here, sweet. No, everybody cut in, come and go. No, like very writing your name, like very casual. Just coming in there. So that's the way I like it. I don't like when it's too like
stiff.
That's your name. That's your little tag. That's just come in.
It's very organic for sure,
but organized at the same time.
Yeah.
That was great. Shout out to those guys. I know Landon watches us, so hey, shout out to you, man. And it was great.
One thing I kind of wanted more of was talking about the coffee, because I think like one of the things that you're trying to do when you're first doing your first round, you're trying to not give too much of your opinion so you don't influence, because coffee tasting is so subjective.
Yeah.
And when you start talking about notes, like when you talk about notes of a coffee, it's going to swing so wildly to what you actually experience, right? And that's one thing you have to kind of get over. There's no wrong answer to how you're experiencing the coffee.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish like there was more of we tried maybe we try the first 5, like let's talk about like what we think about the first 5 or the next one, right? Like a more.
I think in this case today it was because it was too many people and too many coffees. Yeah. So they kind of just like speed up to the process in terms of like everybody needs a chance to try this.
Yeah.
But I think if they do smaller events with maybe like 10 people at a time or different hours, right? The same day, but like, hey, we're going to have one in the morning, one in the afternoon, so to split up the people, then they can do
more detail.
Yeah.
It's cool because it's like everyone was picking out their favorite number of coffee, right? And I was trying to like, okay, I know that I like 4, 6, and I think like 14 or something were my favorites.
Yeah.
And then they went through after and described like what each of the coffees actually were. I'm like, oh, like that fully tracks with what I like. So Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting to see. Like me liking the really light roast that they had there, and usually I'm like a medium roast kind of guy, and then I was like, okay, that made sense. Like a lot. Can't wait for the next event, see what else they're gonna come, because there was some Christmas style of coffee, and then maybe next time we got a spring and summer, what they're coming along. So I can't wait what the new ideas would be for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there was also, they had such a wide variety of coffee origins and processes too, because they were talking about, oh, this one's like wash process, this was natural process. You probably don't know what that
fermentation,
means.
And then they had it.
Yeah, it's like after you pick the cherry, how do you transform that into the green coffee?
Mm-hmm.
That process, contributes different amount of fermentation and flavors. And usually, like most coffee is wash process.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of happy to see that they had like weird, like half anaerobically processed coffee. They had a lot of naturals. It was like, I don't know. That's like the fun part of getting to cup with specialty roasters is like they go for the weird coffees, right? Like the ones that are kind of different.
No, and that was what got me intrigued. Like out of the 20 cups of coffee, pretty much every single coffee came from a different place. So like I didn't know that was the main different type of coffee.
I didn't point this out to you, but you got to try Gesha coffee, which is like on the higher end of coffee. I mean, these are, I don't know like the exact price point, but they're quadruple to 5 times the normal like. I mean, I'm talking as a producer. That's how much they cost more. Yeah. And
so funny because when you think about a person that's not who drinks coffee but is not into coffee, right? Like that. I always thought coffee was coffee. There was no, different, types of coffee, different plants of coffee that would give different cherries or the beans. And then you learn a little bit more coffee, and then I learned there's maybe 2 or 3. Oh, there's Arabica, and there's another 2 that I heard about, but nobody buys it, only Arabica. And then going to this thing, like 20 type of beans of coffee. Everyone's from a single different place, different sizes. And like, wait, I had no idea it could grow up that much. So if you're not into coffee and watch this for the first time, if you want to get in the world, know there's going to be a lot to learn, a lot to get to know.
You're deep when you start researching the different types of water you can make for brewing your coffee. When you're looking at water recipes for your coffee brewing, then you're a coffee nerd.
It's become like a pizza thing. New York water is perfect to make the pizza. Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah, do you know? Okay,
no, I didn't realize that was a whole nother rabbit hole.
Like New York pizza's the best because they use New York water, but.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So
I don't know if the pipes that are going to the sewer of like New York.
It's the extra minerals, man. It's the flavor. There you go.
Yeah, some like people say like the taste on the food of the restaurants is the sweat of the.
I mean, it used to be true for bread, right? Like the yeast on the hands of the bakers.
I don't know. Let's go back to coffee.
Oh man!
But again, great opportunity. Wherever you are in the country, I'm pretty sure there's a roaster around you. Call them or go to their social media and do a cup. It's a nice thing to do.
Yeah. It's
gonna change your view on coffee, and who knows, maybe it's a thing you guys might get into, and
you too can become a coffee nerd. Yeah. You're like, how much is too much for a at-home espresso machine? Ooh. It's so hard to recommend.
Well, we still have time here. Do you want to get a little bit into that department?
Into
how the hobby gets expensive when you're getting.
I mean, I think the biggest jump I tell people if they want to get into specialty coffee is to just buy a grinder. Get a grinder and a scale. Just those 2 things will like bump you way up in your quality of coffee.
Yeah, but first you need a coffee machine.
Well, that's why I recommend like, okay, are you a person who drinks black coffee, or do you like a little bit of cream and sugar, or do you like your latte, right?
Yeah.
If you're okay doing like filter coffee, then there's like a really approachable price point for you where you could get a Kalita Wave. That's one of the most popular like pour over brewers, or a V60. That one's very popular, but I wouldn't recommend that for beginners because you have to really watch your like pouring technique.
Yeah.
But so if you like your filter coffee, then get a grinder, get fresh beans from a local roaster or a roaster that people have talked about or something like that, and you're gonna upgrade your quality. You're gonna go into espresso. Be ready to. I mean, entry level probably starts around 500 for espresso.
Yes.
And then you're next.
The sky's the limit.
I mean, I have my dream at home espresso machine. It's like $3,000, maybe one day. But it is like I don't know, like it's the Tesla of espresso machines.
I don't know. I don't see you getting that because you're gonna have a professional commercial one available to you, but who knows?
The difference, I mean, like there are special machines that measure everything.
Yeah. And that's why we kind of pump my brakes and trying to upscale my house because we're going to be in business doing coffee. So we're going to have, it might be a privilege to us to have that. Not everybody will be able to have that, but we're going to have a commercial grade available for us in our business. But when I saw the prices and I saw the numbers, I have to pump my brakes myself because I'm getting to this, but I cannot come home with $3,000-$4,000 of equipment. My wife is going to kill me with all these things. So, it starts small, like a scale and a grinder, but then the grinder you bought is not the best grinder. Then you want the best. It just goes.
Then I have a grinder for filter coffee, but now I need a grinder for espresso, and those are much more expensive. It's just like, yeah.
Because I do like the drinks made with espresso, right? When you get your lattes and the cappuccinos. Cappuccino is my favorite, so I would need an espresso machine per se, but I had to stop right there when I saw the price. Like, I'll keep my black coffee at home, and then when I go to work at the coffee shop, I get my cappuccino there. Yeah. No, so I had to.
I think that's why things like the mocha pot, the little stove. That's a great, like, it's not espresso, but it's pretty close. It's like a very like rich and.
I have a couple that, well, they broke already, but they're not gonna last a lifetime unless you buy those really like cast iron ones that look forever, but. The Food Basic ones, they last a while. They're very non-expensive, and you get a similar experience. And it's worth, like, again, my favorite is cappuccino. I try to do cappuccinos at home. I think the most difficult part of doing cappuccino at home is the froth of the milk.
There is a learning curve to getting exactly the right froth amount. Yeah, that's really the only difference between when you talk cappuccino, flat white, and a latte. Mm-hmm. One of the major differentiators between those two is just how much foam and how foamy it is, right?
So I bought this little thing from Amazon that has a little spinning wheel.
Oh, the stand?
Yeah.
Those things are great.
So it worked.
For at home, it's great, yeah.
Like, latte art, that's none of that was happening there.
So that's another kind of event that I see a lot in Orlando are the latte art throwdowns.
I would like to go to that. I like to see.
I would like to see as an observer. I mean, I've obviously been doing coffee for a while, but my latte art, it's pretty good. But there are some people there that are very focused on it as a craft.
Because one thing, it doesn't change the flavor of the coffee. That's what people like. A lot of people think the better the guy is doing this is not. It doesn't change the flavor. It's just art, and it's great. I like to see.
I think what I like about it is it signals when they actually have baristas that can do it. It signals to me this is a person that.
Hours.
Has put in the hours to making and probably cares about espresso and they are putting all this time into one singular drink, right?
Yeah. And I do follow this person on Instagram that does the art but does in 3D level. I think I showed it to you.
They make it very foamy and they look like bears and stuff. That is next level.
Yeah, and I had no idea how they do it because they don't show doing it; they just show the end result. Yeah. So I don't know if they're using some chemicals to make it even fluffier. Yeah, it's just, but it's beautiful the way they do it. It's just great. Have you seen the meme that they use the stencil to powder? But every time they powder and they take the stencil, everything's just all messy underneath it. So it doesn't really work.
It's a meme. That just sounds like real life. I've tried the stencils. They're so hard to get right.
Yeah, so the person's okay, he's gonna look good. And then take it out and just
a mess. Just blob. It just sounds like what actually happens.
Yeah, but I do respect the person who can do a lot because they put the hours, they put the work there. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, today was great. I would have to say it was seeing all these people and everything. We know that also getting into the hobby, if you really wanted to buy all this equipment, it's not going to be
I mean, I wonder if one day we'll dive into recommendations and stuff like that. But I really want to actually sit down and test approachable grade equipment, just because I think a lot of people have come to me like, hey, I want to get into espresso, or I want to get a gift for this person, and they all they have is a Keurig or an espresso. I'm like, it's very hard to dive into that conversation. What do you want to get? Do you want to get into the filter? Do you want to get into espresso? I want to have something where I know here's the things that you get, right? Because that's the other thing. There are so many options out there for coffee equipment. Yeah. You can kind of get lost in the sauce of what are the small things that make this better, but
Well, I think we can make a video then. We can make a quick video giving what's on our take, what's worth it to get started, right?
Yeah.
What's going to make you make a decent, great cup of coffee.
I think that's the one thing I've learned with buying coffee equipment. Like, just getting a grinder and getting like the base level for whatever your brew method is gets you kind of like 80% there, and then everything, all the other upgrades are kind of that last 20% of like, can I get a little bit better extraction or a little bit more consistency out of it. But once you just have that base level, you're already most of the way there, right? That's a good thing to know.
But then there's a little factor that that's why a lot of people don't buy their coffee things. It's just the convenience of getting things ready.
That's the thing. Like I feel like the more you upgrade, it's also the more time investment you have to spend to preparing the coffee yourself, right?
Yeah, because a person who loves coffee, they might go to their favorite coffee place, and the coffee's done in like 2 minutes. Here it goes.
Well, once you start getting all this equipment stuff, you're turning it into a hobby for yourself, right?
So when you start becoming a hobby for yourself, you're gonna be there probably 10-15 minutes to make one cup of coffee for you, and you just not
me measuring my scale measuring exactly the right amount of beans, taking one bean. Now I'm like, okay, that's perfect now.
Yeah, so that's the only difference. It's there's not a right or wrong answer in terms of how you want to enjoy your coffee. It's just like if you want to be if you want to be part of the entire cycle of the thing, you can start from the roasting of the coffee all the way to the drinking of the coffee.
I started roasting. I got it's called a whirly pop. It's made for popcorn, and it's just like a little stove pot with like a little.
I have those.
You have a whirly
I have
pop?
one of those.
That's how I started roasting coffee. Actually, was just being on the whirly pop for 14 minutes, and you're just like cranking.
Yeah. So you
can start from that level.
You can start from that level, and then you can start from the beginning to the end if you want to do everything at home. But also, there's nothing wrong with just like, hey, I just want to buy and have something for me that's great. It's perfect what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So it's just a great world, guys. It's it's opened my eyes because again, really, very, very love coffee. Been drinking coffee for forever, and getting to know that the world is that hobby. So
it's very deep. Yeah,
it's deep. It's interesting for sure.
Yeah. Well. Shout out to Nathan at Leatherback Roasting. Shout out to Landon at Cupa Roasting. Thank you for hosting such a wonderful event, and we hope to so many more. Yeah.
Hope to see you guys in the next one then, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that was a great conversation about coffee. And if you guys have any questions or if you guys like the video, subscribe, like the video down there. Let us know any new ideas, for the next videos, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. See you later.